Hello and welcome to another edition of This Morning with Soulivity. We want to say good morning to our listeners from around the world. Listen, we're broadcasting live from our studios right here in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and on KMET 1490 AM in Southern California. My name is Brian Wesley Johnson. Of course, I am glad that you are here with us. I'm joined today by some very special, lovely ladies, Candice, Harper, and Tami Gaines. Good morning to both of you.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Listen, we got a jam-packed, great show for you today. I think today's topic is going to be really, really special. But before we begin, I want to remind everybody, listen, we want your questions, your comments, your thoughts. Post them directly here to the chat on Facebook or YouTube, and we will do shout outs to you with, to get you into the conversation. This is interactive. Just want to remind people that this is an interactive conversation. So, first of all, how was everybody's week?
I
Candice?
had I had a wonderful week. I can't complain. I've been doing home improvement stuff, which is my wheelhouse. Yeah. So it's been
Love home improvement.
I
Me
got to
too.
go to the Gershwin Prize. Joni Mitchell received the Gershwin Prize this year from the Library of Congress, and I got to go to that ceremony and concert, which was fantastic.
Wow.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah,
I didn't even know she
so
was
good.
still with us.
I know,
I know,
right?
right?
I
And
know.
painter, she's still with us and going strong. So she doesn't record as much music, but she's painting still. So all her paintings were on the set, because they were filming the show for PBS,
Mhm.
and it was amazing.
Ooh,
That's
wow.
Yeah,
awesome.
I know, Tammy.
yeah.
I feel like I didn't do anything this
I
week
didn't
then.
do anything, not compared to that.
Crazy.
Tammy, what
Candy's
about
so
you?
fancy. She's so fancy.
I
I know,
try.
right?
I try. Stay out there.
Uh, Tell me, how was your week?
It was busy. It was busy, but great. I took my daughter. So y'all know I have a million kids. My 16-year-old. Let me be specific. I at the very last minute, by the way, decided Thursday night that we were going to go to Boston and look at schools.
Woo.
Um, yeah, because she plays softball, so this was like it.
Mhm.
Like other than this week, we couldn't have done anything until like July.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was in Boston for most of the week. Um, do y'all remember when you looked at colleges?
Oh, yes.
Ages ago.
Yeah.
Way back in art.
Hang on. I know, right? Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Me and Jesus was kind of like, hey, this looks kind of good.
Right.
Yeah, I went to a one-room schoolhouse college.
Yeah.
So you knew Mary Jane Pittman.
Right.
Yeah. But let me ask, do you remember the feeling that you had like on the tours?
Yeah. Scared
What
to
what
death.
was it? What was it,
Scared
Brian?
to death. Like,
Scared.
what the hell is this?
Right. I mean, I didn't remember just trying. I wanted so hard to be a grown woman from such a young age that when we went on college tours, I was like, parents, stay in the car. I got this. Like,
Oh,
although
that's
they
funny.
didn't.
Look, I just wanted to get out of my house. I was like,
Exactly.
how
Yeah, no,
early
that's
can they
true.
come here?
Yeah, that's true. I want to be
Exactly.
gone. Like,
Well,
bye.
it
Give me
was
this car.
yeah, I hear you. Well, it was fun watching her do her first tour.
Hmm.
Um,
Mm.
I think the kids are a little bit fearless nowadays. Like there was no fear. There was no like literally no apprehension. She was like, "All right, sell me on your
Mm.
school," which I thought was a
Yeah.
really great approach. Which I said to her in the
Hmm.
car, like, they need you. They want you as much as you want them,
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
right? So ask good questions. But I will tell you, like during the course of like my 4 days of looking at schools, I noticed a distinct difference between the students.
Mm.
Um, like the kids that gave our tours,
Hmm.
really outgoing, like asking questions, engaging. There was because of COVID, there was only like 6 people on our tour.
Yeah.
Um, but we were walking by people that like we were clearly a tour group, and some kids stopped and they said good morning, and this is a great school. Like some kids like gave their own like ad for the school.
Mhm.
And then some kids were walking like zombies. They just like walked literally through the middle of the tour, didn't say a word, didn't make eye
Wow.
contact.
That's
And
sad.
began to think, I just began to think about, have we de-emphasized the importance of connection and community?
Yeah.
Have we exchanged that for academic success?
Mm. Mm.
I'll
Mm.
put that out there to you two to ask you that question because I was feeling like it while I was
Wow.
on the tour.
Wow. Well, I think in the information age that you have to admit that part of that is true.
Mhm.
That, I mean, um I, like yesterday, my wife had dinner with our son, and it had been a while since they connected that way. But when I was growing up, it was like, having dinner with my folks was like a regular kind of thing, not necessarily at their house, but we'd go out to eat and that kind of thing. But there was less technology, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so I think that plays a role in this, and that, well, I FaceTimed you, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That doesn't count.
That doesn't count, right?
Mhm.
I mean, the physical interaction, there's something about that. And so, what about you, Candy? What do you think?
I mean, it's interesting because I think a lot of different layers kind of come up when you think about what we're emphasizing for kids. So, as a non-parent, I always call myself a childless mother because I just mother whoever comes along. um, I think that part of it is that as the population increases, and like Brian said, because of social media, there's more awareness that there are more people out there, and for everything that is available, if we have a mentality of lack, then it's like we're surviving and trying to achieve for our own thriving and surviving. And so it's competitive.
Yeah.
And I think we only get more and more competitive, but I don't think it has to be. Like, I think because we're, about being a capitalistic society and making money, that the pressure has heightened, at least since my day. The pressure is stronger.
Up a hill both ways.
Right? Right? Because people are scrambling to have, and we have this overarching feeling that there's a lack of resources and that there's not enough money, so you got to be smarter and faster and more capable and more technical savvy. I think there's so many layers to why it's that way, and it doesn't need to be.
Tami, I'm glad you asked this question. Question back to you. Do you think, because I know my parents were really big on values, right? What values do you hold? Do you think that specifically in the Black community, that we've kind of drunk the Kool-Aid a little bit, and now we're like out here trying to be part of society and in a certain way, and that we may have forgotten some of those values? What do you think?
That's such an interesting question, Brian. I think two things. One, like in my house, we didn't talk about values.
Yeah.
We just witnessed values.
Exactly.
Right? There was no conversation around it.
I'm high-fiving you through the airwaves.
Yeah, it's just how you saw how your parents and your grandparents and your aunties and your uncles, well, not all of them, by the way, but we watched how they move through life. Like not Uncle,
Uncle Joe or who somebody,
yeah,
there's always one
with the platform shoes with the goldfish in them. Not him, not him. But I'll tell you a really quick story that happened while I was up there. To your point, Brian, because I think this exemplifies it, and this is actually like pretty sad. So we were on our way, running late, by the way, to get to the Harvard tour, which, by the way, because of the pandemic, it's like only 2 a day. So we were already like tight to get there on time. And me and Bree were walking down the sidewalk, and we saw a lady laying half under her car and half on the sidewalk, with a wheelchair next to her and a guy standing over her, clearly trying to like figure out the situation.
Mm.
And Bria said, what's going on? I said, I don't know. But if we stop, we're definitely going to be late.
Yeah.
And she was like, it's probably worth being late.
Mm.
So we did. This woman had slipped, like getting out of her car. It was icy up there. So I told Bria, like, grab the wheelchair, and I hoisted that woman up into the wheelchair, made sure they were okay, and we kept it moving to the tour.
Mm.
There was a bunch of people, y'all, that walked right by, and they were all kids. Like, we were on campus.
Yeah.
So, to your point, yeah, we've lost it. And there's a lot of conversation, right, Candy? Everybody's talking about everything. They're talking about LGBTQ the issues. They're talking about this. They're talking about that. But maybe we should stop talking and just start living the way we saw when we were growing up. And maybe that's the most important. I'd rather have a great citizen of the world than a straight A kid that goes to Harvard.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Candy, what about you? What do you think about that?
I mean, I agree with that. Like, I think that if, and me, it always comes back to how we treat each other and how we connect with each other and how we treat ourselves. I think that education is extreme. Like, it was instilled in me by my mother, and it might be a little bit of colonialism, but it also, I think, was the understanding that, without education, you are enslaved, right?
Right.
And, wanting me to have that. But, I think you're right. Being an example of someone with good character is way more meaningful than cracking the whip on, you got to be the top of your class and, make sure that you pick something that's going to make sure you make enough money and live the American dream, whatever that is even anymore. So yeah, but there's always, like with everything, a balance, because especially people of color, that education piece is so real. Like it really does mean everything, and actually being able to achieve the American dream, whatever that is.
Right.
What is that?
What's that?
What is it? I don't know what the American dream is.
Who knows what it is? I mean, it used to be like the house, the car, the nuclear family. And I think now what it is being able to actually live a life that doesn't live you, like make your own choices and be able to thrive as well, which, that could be different for everybody. So we have room for that, I think.
I'm loving this conversation already. I mean, I think this is one of those things that we really don't talk about a lot. I mean, I think sometimes, I know with like friends of mine who have, now adult children, we ask that question, what's the difference between these kids? How are these kids today? You start asking that question, and maybe things that you did when you were younger that they get to do. But we're going to take a quick break. We're going to keep on this topic. And we'll be right back with more of This Morning with Soulivity. We'll be right back, guys.
Hi there, Sheila Applegate here with some exciting news. I've joined the incredible Soulivity team as the host of the new Consciously Awesome live show, where I will be sharing insights to help you discover your full brilliance and claim the vibrant life you deserve. So tune in every Wednesday right here on Soulivity TV to join the fun, and remember to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss a single episode. Have an awesome week, and I will see you on Wednesday.
Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame. Living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Soulivity is a space to nurture, that which lives in all of us. A place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
And we're back with more of This Morning with Soulivity. We are talking about the pressure we as parents put on our children to achieve. Why so serious? You know, I had to get that in there, Tam. You know,
I know. You listen. I was about to say, wow, that line from Batman
Mhm.
that the Joker said, "Why so
So
serious?"
serious.
That
Mhm.
was like my prevailing thought while I was touring these colleges. Like I told, so my daughter didn't know this, and I'm about to put myself on blast.
Oh, okay.
I almost failed out of college my first semester,
Mm.
and that was behind partying. Like,
No.
Absolutely.
first of all, I was always grounded in high school, so I mostly had no social life. Like, I didn't go on my first date until I was a senior in high school,
Yeah.
and I was always grounded for no particular reason. But when I got to college, my roommate asked me if I wanted to go out, and I was like, "Yeah, but don't we have to be back in like 10 minutes?" She was like, "What?"
What?
I was like, "What time do we have to be back?" This was my first night of college. She said, "We don't have to be back at any time." I was like, "Nobody's coming to check if we're in the bed?" She was like, "Nobody's coming to check. We could do whatever we want." Let me tell you something, my friends. That was the last thing I needed to hear. I barely went to class. I was out like every night living the life.
Tami, you were like, ooh, ooh.
No, I was like, "Hey, has anybody seen Tami?" So Bria asked me, like, while we were touring, she asked me, what was it like? And I said, I'm going to tell you something I never told any of you guys. So I told her, like, my experience of the first semester. By the way, my dad showed up on campus unexpected.
Oh,
I was all happy because I was like, free meal. Awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, we went to the restaurant. He didn't say a word the entire car ride, which was like 25 minutes.
Wow.
And we ordered. And he's like, "How's school?" I was like, "Amazing." He's like, "How are your grades?" "Awesome."
One word.
Yep. He pulled out that envelope. I saw the Tufts insignia on the return. Anyway, long story. He didn't even just get the letter that I was on academic probation. He actually came up early to go to the bursar to confirm the grades. Like the whole night was a disaster.
That can't be my daughter.
Well, he was very calm. He was just like, if you don't pull your grades up next semester, you're coming home and you're going to community college. Like, I'm not paying all this money for you to like be this.
Yeah.
So I told that story to Bria, which of course she was laughing her head off. And then she was like, "Why would you go through all the trouble and the effort to get into college and then not actually take advantage?"
Right.
I don't know. So I wanted to ask you both, what was, by the way, that was a life lesson that I learned that I actually talked about on Tuesday, which I'll tell you. I talked to a group of high schoolers and shared that with them because they said, "What mistake have you made in your life that you've carried with you?" So we were talking about values and character. Do you have a memory from college that you feel like actually defines who you are today? And then I'm going to bring this back to this social conversation.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely do. And it's funny, in a lot of the healing circles that I work in, my mentor's healing circle, we have this phrase, "my sister, myself." So when you hear someone telling a story and you hear yourself in it as well, it's my sister, myself. And as you were talking about your first semester, I was thinking about my freshman year. And let's just say there's a reason why it took me 5 years to get my undergraduate degree. Because I had a very similar sort of, breaking out and getting wild kind of a whole freshman year. But, what also speaks to that is that there was the whole thing around payment of tuition and money. And the agreement I had with my father around it was that I was going to get federal loans and he would slowly pay them back. And, I would always give him my refund and things like that. As far as answering the question about a mistake that I regret is that I didn't follow the protocol. And when I got the refund, I spent it on spring break, all kinds of things. I had a friend who stole some of it from me. I was completely irresponsible. And what that culminated in is much higher debt when I graduated than I would have had because he would have helped me. So what he said was, okay, if you're going to mess around with the refund, you take care of the tuition costs.
Whoa.
Which he was smart to do that because he really intentions, right? Of like, that I didn't have debt. And that ended up being a lifelong, I still carry student loan debt. And, there's a lot of layers around money and, my money story and all of that. But if I look back, if there was anything that I would go back and do differently, although I don't believe in regret, I would have been way more responsible as far as how I handled that. I was too busy trying to party and have a good time.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw. I'm making a point right now. Believe it or not, Brian, go ahead.
Okay.
I'm gonna circle this.
All right. So I think the one story that comes to mind is I had a partner of mine at another school that was like, I won't say his name, but that was like a long way away. And in the Midwest we get winter storms and stuff. So he's like, hey, why don't you come up and party with me? So I drive the car that my dad had given to me to go see him and party at this college over like 3 or 4 days in the middle of a snowstorm. I come back, right? And I was scared driving up there and back because I was alone. It was at night too. And I came back and it was like months later, and my dad was like, I was back at home, chilling with my dad, my mom, and my dad was like, yeah, so, giving me rope. How was, how's school going? I was like, it's going okay. He's like, really? He said, I know that storm came through where you were. Did you buckle down okay? I was like, oh yeah, I was fine. I didn't do much of anything. And he pulls out a parking ticket.
Oh, damn.
And it was a parking ticket from that place. And he was like, why was my car here? And I, of course, I had to come clean because I'm like, oh, well, somebody stole the car and drove it there and drove it back to my, that wasn't going to work. And he was cool, like your dad. He was cool. He was like, number one, you're not up there you're not going to school to party. You're there to better yourself. Because he would always tell me, he said, the going to college isn't specifically about you learning what you're going to do for the rest of your life. That's not what it's for. You get a piece of that. You begin that process. He said, you're there to learn one of the most important things that you will ever learn when you get that piece of paper, and that is discipline toward a goal.
Absolutely. Amen.
And so he said, what if you had skid off the road and nobody knew where you were alone in the middle of the night? You could have died. Literally died because nobody knew where you were.
Yeah.
And so, think about that. And I was like, that hit me hard. I was, weepy. I was like, and he was like, he said, if your grades slip, if you do anything that gives me pause around this, I'm pulling the plug. And then you're going to have to find your own way around like college. He said, but you can't make this kind of dumb mistake again.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
Well, by the way, I'm with your dad, but so let me make a quick point here. All three of us told stories that are based on our values.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So when I was on one of the tours, I asked the tour guide, she was a junior, So what's your biggest regret? Like, you're a junior, you have 3 years under your belt here.
Right.
She said, I should have studied harder for my physics final because I got whatever. She got like a B minus, and it brought her entire GPA down. And she's worried that, when she's looking for a job, they're going to see that on her transcript. Come on, y'all.
Wow.
That
Wow.
is so deep. That was when I said, why so serious?
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like we've lost. I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, I feel like most of those kids aren't telling value-based memories from college.
Yeah. I mean, I could see how, well, especially think about the schools that you were touring as well. Because I think,
yeah, that was ridiculous.
Right? Like that. I mean, that definitely factors in. So by family, I'm a cousin of, I don't know if you've ever heard of her. Her name's Marley Diaz. She's this amazing young woman of color who started a movement called 1,000 Black Girl Books. And now she goes to Harvard. And I know her mother by family and have had conversations with her mother at a family event and things like that. And she was telling me how there's a level of challenge that she's facing right now because there is such a need to achieve. And this is a little girl who was already achieving at like 12 years old. She wrote a book. She was, partnered with Melissa Harris Perry as an editor. I forget which magazine. Like, very high achieving little girl.
Wow.
Yeah. And, I think that because of the position she's in and where she is, probably maybe what she might have been hit with is that, it's almost like the pressure to achieve, the pressure to succeed is astronomical just because you're in such competition with people who there's been nothing else in their life but that.
Right.
Like, I went to a state school. I went to Penn State. And I wonder if I went to Penn State now and just interviewed the kids there, I would say that probably a good 60 to 70% of them are like, I'm partying my way through.
That was the Tami 101 for college. But go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, and I don't know of anybody in recent history that actually did their undergrad in 4 years.
Yeah.
It's like 4.5, 5.
That's problematic.
That kind of thing.
So I have a question. You ready?
Go for it.
Okay. Yesterday, I was talking to a colleague and he said, I might have to jump off early. I have a parent-teacher conference. I was like, no problem. Wait. I was like, isn't your kid like 3?
Oh, no.
Said, yeah, he's 3. I was like, what do you like? What? Just what?
That's too much.
Yeah.
Why so serious?
That's too much.
Brian, go ahead. You come from educators.
Yeah. That's no. I listen. I remember my first day at preschool or kindergarten or whatever, and of course you cry because you have that separation, right? You don't want to leave. You're with a strange thing, and my parents were like, no, you'll be okay. We'll be back at this time. And the teachers would come and all that, and they would work it out. Right. Kids are going to be kids. Right. They're learning how to interact with each other. And then, by 11 o'clock, I was good. Playing, eating Play-Doh and all that kind of stuff. Notice I said eating Play-Doh like all the other things.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I know what my mom and dad would say, and that is, again, why so serious? This is being overly analytical of a child's development, and that, not to say that there aren't like maybe some more serious kinds of things where a child goes off and is not even interacting after like days, and they're like in a corner and they're not doing anything, then maybe that's time for like intervention. But if children are playing with each other and that kind of thing, and the value set is there where it's like, listen, you know, you have to get along with other kids and this and that, then why have a parent teacher conference for a 3-year-old?
Is this where it all begins? You're putting pressure on your kid at 3. Of course, they're going to have mental health issues at 15.
Yes. Agreed. Agreed.
I mean, it also has to do with, like, you know, what is the content of these conversations? Because if we're talking about the importance of values over achievement, I think that there is something to be said for if the content is we're talking about the kid because we want to make sure that, you know, that the kid is being a good human being. Like, we don't know if his little 3-year-old is biting people. Or
Right.
That's true. He could be the Tasmanian devil.
Right? Or if, you know, if somebody's biting him, like, I think, you know, that's sort of the distinction that we need to make is why so serious about achievement and not so serious or committed to the values and the interaction and the love and the connection and the experience, right? The journey, the growth. Yeah, like it seems like we're not as serious about this being present for the journey. We're more serious about make this thing happen.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And maybe it's about us.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Well, speaking of that, you know how I love facts and figures. There was a 2017 study that was published in the Journal of Youth and Adolescence that talked about this, and they surveyed more than 500 middle school students from a high achieving school, and they said that they asked them to rank values their parents prioritized. There were 3 values that were on achievement, to attend a good college, excel academically, and have a successful career. And there were 3 that were character traits: be respectful, helpful, and kind to others. And what they found was that adolescents who believed that both of their parents valued character traits as much as or more than achievement exhibited better outcomes at school, greater mental health, and less rule-breaking behavior than peers who believed their parents were primarily achievement-minded.
I believe that.
That's
Crazy,
so
right?
deep.
Deep,
That's
right?
Interesting.
Deep, right?
So interesting.
Listen, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about this, but I'm going to take a page out of Candy's book, and, you know, we need to give our folks something to hang their hat on, right? Some things to think about in terms of tips to help them kind of move through these times with their children. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in about 2 minutes or so. See you soon. Hi there, this is Brian with Soulivity.com. I want to share some exciting news about our new Aspire Academy by Soulivity. Now, you probably want to know what the Aspire Academy by Soulivity is. Well, it exclusively connects you with people around the globe and who share the intense desire to improve themselves and create a better life for themselves today. There's classes, there's workshops, there's live events, and even more exclusively just for you. You see, I wanted you to have a safe space where you could grow, you can learn, and it would empower you in all aspects of your life, including your mind, your body, and your soul. So how do you get started? Well, it is so easy. First of all, the best part, joining Aspire Academy is absolutely free. Just click on the Join Now button, sign up, and begin your journey. As a special part of this invitation to you, there are some free courses that are available for you to try from our amazing roster of coaches and collaborators. It's our way of saying thank you for all of your support and being with us along our journey of expansion.
I hope you enjoyed the Aspire Academy by Soulivity today. Start the process. Learn more about your passion, your purpose, and how to live a higher quality life.
And we're back with more of This Morning with Soulivity. I'm joined by two beautiful ladies who need no introduction, but I'm going to do it anyway. Tami Gates and Candice Harper. I know I'm a fool. I know it. I know it.
You are. We love that fool.
We were talking about parents putting pressure on their kids to achieve. I mean, we're basically saying, why so serious, y'all? Why so serious? Let's move into some tips around this, because this is something that's very, very important. Tami, you just came off this college tour. What were some of your thoughts around if you could have those parents in a room and kids in the room too? Because I want that there's some things for our kids too that they probably need to know. What would you say? What would be one thing that you would say to them?
Well, I had the benefit of speaking to a group of high school juniors and seniors on Tuesday evening or Wednesday evening. And they were asking questions about, academics and salary and jobs. But what I asked them to focus on is developing life skills that will take them not just through success in college, but beyond.
Yeah.
And I mentioned 3. I said developing the ability to listen, like to really listen.
Yeah.
Not think about what you're saying, but to like really listen so you can pick up on somebody's like their vibe and like you could learn somebody's personality just by very quietly listening to them talk for a little while. I told them the importance of collaboration.
Yeah.
And when they get into school that they're going to have to work on teams. And I also mentioned I played softball in college. Like I've been a team player my entire life, and I encourage them to join whatever team they can, because that is a skill you could take with you until you retire. Being able to collaborate with other people.
Yeah.
And the last piece was discipline, Brian. That's why I love so much what you said that your dad said.
Yeah.
Because I said the reason to go to college is not to get a great paying job. The reason to go to college is to prove to somebody that you can finish.
Yes, Lord.
However, whether it takes you 4 or 5, 6 years, it's the point is I finished. Like I had the discipline to do what was asked of me, and I graduated.
Yeah.
That is a life lesson. So I don't know. That's what I would tell. I tell my kids' friends whenever I see them. But I wish we talked more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Candy, what about you?
I mean, let's say that again.
Yeah, what are some tips that you would give in that situation?
So, I'm very careful about parenting advice because, again, I'm not a parent. So, I don't ever want it to be construed as I'm telling parents what they should do. But I work with a lot of adults who had parents. Right. And what the outcomes are of having parents who aren't necessarily conscious. And I think the thing is that if you're raising someone and you want things for them, you want to be really cognizant of what you're doing with yourself. Like if you yourself are a high achiever and you've put yourself in this high pressure situation because your intentions might have been good. Yeah, you want for your family, but there's something within you that is unfulfilled. I say be conscious that if that's the example that you are setting and that's the demand you are making, that what you're sacrificing is what could be a connection and your child's ability to develop the values that would make them be a fulfilled person. Right. And so if you've sacrificed it for yourself, know that, I do believe that children do what we do. And I've mentored and taught enough to know that when a child loves you, they emulate you. More so than listen to your words.
Right.
And what I would say is that, be really conscious of, am I the example of what I want myself to be while I'm guiding this person into what I'm telling them I want them to be? Am I fulfilled? Am I living, my truth? Am I fully self-expressed? Am I also able to do all of those things and thrive? Or am I just thinking about achievement and stressed out and having high blood pressure and going through all sorts of physiological problems because I'm trying to make something happen? So that's the example I'm setting. So I feel like it's consciousness. Like, who am I being in my own life? That the example that I'm setting for my child or what I'm demanding of them is not something that's going to give them the same kind of outcome.
Love that.
That's awesome, Candy. That is awesome.
I'm thinking, I guess, me being a parent too, and me being a kid at one point. I think I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna come at this same thing, but two different, perspective from the parent perspective. So I think a lot of times, in terms of us being parents, we do put that pressure on our children to achieve, but I think it goes deeper than that. I think it goes to the point at which we want our children never to fail, never to experience failure. And so, we get in there, we try to make sure that everything is like so perfect, and we give them advice about, you don't do this, don't do that, this kind of thing. And we're not letting them learn the lessons that they need to learn in a controlled manner. I mean, we're not telling them to jump off a bridge or anything like that, but children need to learn how to fail.
Absolutely. And stop rewards to everybody.
Exactly. And so, and then on the other side of this, and I'll say this quickly before we have to go to break, is I remember when I was a student and my mom and dad let me fail, that like, listen, you got a project that's going to be due in 4 weeks, right? Or a paper that's going to be due in 4 weeks, but you blow it off, right? Until that last week. And how many of us had to do the all-nighters to get that thing done? Well, that was a very precious life learning experience, especially if after all that you don't get the grade that you want to get because you didn't have the discipline to do it. And so I think those are kind of two different things that I think both parents and children need to learn. So we're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back in just a second for final thoughts.
Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame. Living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Soulivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us. A place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
Are you ready to take that first step towards true, unwavering inner happiness? Are you like thousands of people who have everything they need, not want, but need, and still can't seem to find happiness and fulfillment in their lives? If so, the Steps to Happiness show is for you. On my show, you will learn about the principles and practices that lead to true inner happiness. Because guess what? It isn't found in our external environment, but within ourselves instead. Together with my guests, we will explore the latest physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being practices. And together, we'll advise you on the actionable steps you can take towards a happier, more fulfilled, authentic life. So I invite you to join me each week on Soulivity TV on the Steps to Happiness show with me, Teresa Greco.
And we're back with more of This Morning with Soulivity. Let's go to final thoughts. Candice?
I was in the middle of swallowing my tea.
Oh,
I mean, I think, part of the pressure thing too is this idea that we're supposed to know. And I think we sort of touched on it before, like knowing at 16, 17, 18 years old what the rest of your life is supposed to be. I think that that's a paradigm that we need to shift. Right. If anything that I've learned in my 51 years, and why I loved what you said, Brian, about allowing it's okay to fail, is that you can make all the goals and plans and dreams and visions. And I believe in creating your dreams and visions, but without the flexibility to be able to let yourself fall and fail and grow and learn, you cheat yourself out of the experience of actually living. And so I think that part of what would lift the pressure and part of what is important about, when kids are at this age is they deserve the understanding that they don't have to have all of it figured out. Yeah.
Wow. I like that. Wow.
Yeah, you're right.
Tami?
I guess my final thought, and this is not a global statement. This is specifically for the United States, because I'm not quite sure other cultures put pressure on their kids like we do. But I will say, I'm wondering if the United States is so divided and so, like, I feel like we're on fire. Like, well, first of all, physically we are on fire. Like, you know what I mean? California is like under snow and half of it is like burning up. There's droughts. But I feel like I think we are like in the situation that we are, with nobody getting along and nobody getting respected. And, law enforcement has gone buck wild, except now there's social media. Is it because, I believe it's because we are putting pressure on our kids to achieve instead of being the people that they want to emulate, Brian, like you said in that article. I think it is about education, but it's not the education that's held in the classroom.
No. Right. Man, wow. Shoot, I could just leave it with y'all. I mean, I completely agree with what you guys are saying here. This is such an important topic. Again, I think all of our topics are important, but I think this one is really, really important because I think that we haven't talked enough about why our generation has a certain type of values and that the next generation had another type of values, and we don't connect the dots. And that I think, and I'm going spiritual real quick, y'all.
Go ahead.
I think that the current culture of like achievement and all that is in the paradigm of doing what you do to have what you have, and then you're known as this person, and that's the being. Well, what we know is that you got to put the being first. And so embodying, as both of you have been talking about in different ways, embodying the values. I mean, do you want to be a millionaire per se, or would you rather be known as this highly respected person in your community, right? If that didn't exist, like if you were a millionaire, you were not known to do that. I mean, we talked about Jimmy Carter's legacy. Doesn't he embody the beingness of who we are? Because I mean, he got out of the hospital and was right back at building houses.
Building houses.
Was he?
Great. He made a commitment. He stuck to it.
Right. And so that's what we want to be teaching our children. And then the other stuff will work itself out. I really believe that.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
I really believe that. And so that's my final thought. And we got a couple of minutes here, but I want to make sure that I get in what you guys are doing. Candy, you got a great project that's going on. Can you talk about that real quick?
Yeah. So it's a cool book, a compilation book and a podcast. It's called It's Homie Yo Stay Sis. It's Homie Yo Stay Sis. It's a compilation. compilation book that I'm putting together around the stories of dynamic or tumultuous relationships with home of BIPOC plus women. So it's going to be funny, irreverent, loving, heart-wrenching, kind of like a chicken soup for the soul, but probably even deeper and more raw, because I'm going to be talking about Black women and home instability, and also, purchasing your dream home, building a home, what home means to you. And I'm inviting a lot of women from the community to talk about it as well. So if you want to participate, the link is bit.ly/T, the Home Project 2023. All of the proceeds are going to go to creating housing stability for BIPOC plus women of color and young people, and also the contributors to the project. So go to that link if you want to apply and submit your story.
Fantastic.
Whoa.
Woo woo.
Yeah.
I know,
Candy's
right?
Uber worldly. She's
I
not
know,
even
right?
She's not even I don't even know where you're from, but you're not that's so
funny.
awesome. That's so awesome.
Tami, you got another Tammy's Table coming up on Monday. Can you tell us about who you're going to have on?
Yeah, I feel like nothing.
Oh, get out of here.
Candy just did. So yeah, this Monday is the Monday where we focus on the special needs community. So once a month we talk to families that have kids with special needs, because we as people have special needs. So I'm having a woman on. Her name is Alma Schneider. Alma had a show on Food Network forever. Like, she's cooked with Martha Stewart, like absolutely phenomenal. And she's going to talk about how you can use food and changing your diet to create calm and reduce stress, increase calm in your home and in your life by just using food differently.
Oh man. Well, listen, we are almost out of time. Just wanted to let everybody know. Listen, come join us every weekday right here on Soulivity TV or on KMET 1490 for our editions of This Morning with Soulivity. Thank you, ladies, again for being here. Great conversation as always. With that, we want to say thanks for being here and see you next time.
Yay.
This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC has explicitly granted its prior written consent. All other rights reserved.